Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Arirang Newsbreak. Live from Seoul, I'm Han Daeun. President Park Geun-hye will be making a state visit to 3 African countries this week, the first during her presidency. South Korea's foreign ministry says the visits will focus on strengthening both trade and diplomatic ties, as well as on issues related to North Korea. We begin with Kwon Jang-ho.
Considered a final frontier of vast untapped opportunity and resources, Africa has been receiving growing interest from world powers. Obama and Xi Jinping made state visits last year, and now South Korea's President Park is following suit. She'll first arrive in Ethiopia before making her way to Uganda and finally arriving in Kenya. She will also be the first Korean president to speak at the African Union, dubbed the African UN. She'll be looking to highlight and share the success story of Korea's development from a third world country to a leading economic player in the world.
African nations are very much aware of the economic and social struggles that Korea endured, such as colonization, war, and poverty. They have expressed that Korea is seen as a benchmark for development.
Another issue that will be covered on these state visits will be North Korea. All 3 countries have had diplomatic relations with the regime in the past. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni in particular had a close relationship at the beginning of his presidency, making 3 visits to Pyongyang in the 80s to meet with Kim Il-sung. But relations have since cooled, with Museveni becoming the first foreign head of state to visit President Park after she took office in 2013.
The issues of peace and unification on the Korean Peninsula and the recent UN Security Council Resolution 2270 require help and cooperation from these countries. So far, they have been very accommodating.
After these visits, President Park will be making her way straight to France as she looks to continue expanding South Korea's influence on the international stage through summit diplomacy. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
South Korea has rejected North Korea's offer to hold inter-Korean military talks, saying steps towards dismantling the North's nuclear weapons program should come first. Seoul's defense ministry says it sent a reply to Pyongyang this morning, expressing regret on how the North offered talks without mentioning its stance on South Korea's continuous calls for denuclearization.
North Korea must first take steps towards denuclearization if it truly wants peace on the peninsula. That is the message we convey to the North.
North Korea sent a notification to the South on Saturday saying it wants to ease tension by building up trust through military talks. South Korea's top 3 shipbuilders laid out their plans for restructuring over the weekend. After digesting the proposals, experts have been having their say about the best course of action to take. Hwang Ji-hye has the latest on the troubled shipping giants.
To bail out or to downsize? That's the question that remains over the government's corporate restructuring drive, especially in the shipbuilding industry, a once golden sector that's been struggling to cope with slowing global demand and low oil prices. After the nation's 3 largest shipbuilders, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Samsung Heavy Industries submitted their restructuring plans to creditors over the weekend, some experts say the industry has room to revive itself and that plans have to focus on riding out the current slump. The firm's restructuring schemes largely include layoffs and multi-billion-dollar asset sales. They say that if the companies can weather through the next 2 to 3 years, they could again stand as industry leaders, stressing that drastic job cuts could deteriorate their competitive edge. But this is under the assumption global demand will recover in the coming years. Some analysts even doubt that Korean shipbuilders will start posting profits when demand picks up, as they've been posting such massive losses and will do so for the next couple of years. They say the company's offshore energy projects definitely need restructuring since they've been identified as the main cause of the trio's swelling losses. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Former Oxy Korea CEO John Lee is being questioned at the Seoul prosecutor's office as we speak over the toxic humidifier sterilizer that killed or injured hundreds of customers. Lee, who worked at the Korean branch from 2005 to 2010, is the first foreign chief executive to be called in by prosecutors. Before stepping into the building, Lee said he is truly sad for what has happened and will fully cooperate with the investigation. The probe is expected to center on whether he approved sales of the product in question, despite civil complaints regarding its side effects. Lee was the CEO of Oxy Korea when sales of the company's sterilizers were at their peak. South Korea and 6 Central American nations began a 4th round of negotiations for a free trade agreement from today. Talks will take place until Friday with El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and Costa Rica, and focus on issues regarding products, customs, and investment. Seoul is seeking new markets for its competitive industries such as auto and textiles, while promoting the liberalization of services and investment. The 6 countries make up the 5th largest market in Central and South America in terms of combined GDP. Trade volume with South Korea has nearly doubled in the past 10 years, reaching $4.1 billion in 2015. And that does it for now. I'll be back with more of the day's quick headlines, same time tomorrow. Thank you for watching.